friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to Handmade Not Hallmark. Today I've got this really cute scene card featuring some of my favorite images from Hello Bluebird. This really sweet fishing scene utilizes some great ink blending and Copic coloring to create a really simple scene without using too many products to create that scene. So let's get into it. Today I'm using the Fishing Hole stamp and die set from Hello Bluebird. I just love this set so much, as well as the Charlie alphabet dies. This set is so sweet. I really like it a lot because our family loves to go fishing, and this is just a perfect way to express that. The first thing I want to do is I want to get my card panel ink blended so it has an opportunity to dry later on. I'm going to be using Mermaid, Lagoon, and Cracked Pistachio. This is some of my favorite colors to create kind of water. Kind of nice bright water, not so much really dark and murky. Something really nice that would be kind of sort of for a pond or somewhere that you might like to go fishing. I sped through this process a little bit. I wish we could all ink blend this fast, but I really love the way that these two colors meld together. I did bring in a little bit of Salty Ocean near the bottom of the darker blue just to kind of intensify it a little bit more. Some of it gets cut off in the end, but I really love the way that it looks when it's all finished. Here's where I bring in some of that Salty Ocean. Again, you could leave this step out, you could go darker or lighter. Either way, I just love the way that these colors blend together. Once I had my blending finished, I wanted to add a little bit more detail and make it look a little bit more like water. So I spritzed my panel with some plain water and dried it with a paper towel. And then I went in and kind of did more of like a splattering to get larger splotches, so it looked a little bit more like water. And I really love doing this with, distress inks or any type of ink that is water resistant. I really think it's a cool effect. I think oxides would look really cool as well. I just didn't have the colors and oxides that I wanted to use here, so I just used my distress inks. Once I had the water all nice and dabbed up, I went in with the same colors and I wanted to add some splatters with those particular colors. Again, just to reinforce the look that this is water. You could totally leave all of this out. This is totally optional. I just like the way that it looks in my style and the way that I like to do it. So again, it's totally optional. And this gives it an opportunity to set aside to dry. That's why I wanted to get this panel done first. So first I went in with the Mermaid Lagoon, and now I'm going to go in with the Cracked Pistachio. And this is just some plain water here that I'm using. No sparkle or anything, which I think would be really neat. It would kind of make it shimmer like water does in the sunshine. But once I have all that finished, we're going to get right into the coloring. I pre-stamped my images on some Copic-friendly cardstock with some Copic-friendly ink, just to kind of speed along the process because this is a longer video. All the colors I used will be listed on the screen. I'm going to put on some music until we're all finished with the coloring.
When we were younger, we used to sit on the grass among the flowers. We just let the days pass by. People would tell us to get a grip of ourselves and get a job. We didn't care what we were told, 'cause when we were younger, we used to sit on the grass and go, damn, I don't wanna grow old. I wish I could turn back time. Stay up all night singing songs on the terrace. We didn't mind sitting out in the cold. It wasn't possible to make us embarrassed. We were free. Do you remember stealing smokes from your parents? Sometimes we got a bit out of control. When they found out we ran from home just to scare them, we were free. When we were 17. When we got older, we tried to stay in touch, but we had to move on. Life ran away from us. If I could go back, be 17 again, yeah I would, just to see all my friends running around the city acting crazy like we used to do. wish I could turn back time. Oh, stay up all night singing songs on the terrace. We didn't mind sitting out in the cold. It wasn't possible to make us embarrassed. We were free. Do you remember stealing smokes from your parents? Sometimes we got a bit out of control. When they found out we ran from home just to scare them, we were free. When we were 17. When we were 17. When we were younger, we used to sit on the grass and go, damn, I don't wanna grow old. Stay up all night singing songs on the terrace. We didn't mind sitting out in the cold. It wasn't possible to make us embarrassed. We were free. Do you remember stealing smokes from your parents? Sometimes we got a bit out of control. When they found out we ran from home just to scare them, we were free. When we were 17. When we were 17. I went down to the city with a suitcase in my hand, looking for a better deal and trying to find myself a plan. Roaming around the streets, filling up some useless time. And if I'd seen her then and there, I would have asked her to be mine. Ooh, something to talk about. Ooh, someone to dream about. I'm going home alone with only trouble on my mind. I've roamed the streets 1,000 times, but a girl is hard to find. I've learned my lesson oh so well. There's only one thing I have found. When nothing else remains to do, you should just stick to your own kind. Ooh, something to talk about. Ooh, someone to dream about. Ooh, something to talk about. Ooh, someone to dream about.
Once I was finished with all my coloring, I used the coordinating dies to cut out all of my images. Now that my background panel is all nice and dry, we can get to kind of assembling our scene here. I have a piece of wood grain cardstock that I just trimmed down to a tiny sliver and just did a little ink blending. Nothing crazy, nothing too out of this ordinary. I just wanted to create something that looked like maybe a dock or the edge of something along the water that you could sit on. So I'm kind of thinking that you're looking at it straight on. Again, this is all perspective on how you see things, but this is kind of what I had envisioned in my mind, is that this person is sitting on the dock fishing over the edge. And I didn't want to create an entire scene with, you know, background scene, you know, with trees or with, you know, the sky, anything like that. I wanted to keep it more focused on the water being the majority of the color for the scene, and using the other elements to kind of create that scene as well without going too crazy. Now again, this card has a lot of parts and pieces, but in the end it really does come together fairly nicely. And I think this would be a fun way to create scenes for any occasion or any kind of card or idea that you have in mind. Going to get that lined up, leave a nice space at the top so I have room to add my fisherman and get the scene kind of set up. So I just used some liquid glue. I kept this portion nice and flat, and I'm going to pop up some of the elements a little bit later. I used my Tim Holtz trimmer, or mini trimmer, to trim off the remaining portions of that water there, and I just love how this looks. It's starting to come together, and I fiddled and fussed around for a little bit before I decided on adding some of the kind of water ripples that go along with this stamp set, just to kind of reiterate the fact that this is water and that there are some things floating on top and some things on the bottom. So here's where I'm getting those things lined up, just kind of using the fisherman as a guide on where I want to place these ripples of water. Just using some anti-static powder here and some clear ink from Simon. This is a nice sticky embossing ink. I didn't get a super perfect stamping here, but I wasn't wholly concerned about that because it is water ripples. Water ripples aren't perfect, so I was kind of okay with that. It didn't bother me too much. Once I had those stamped down, I used some Brutus Monroe Alabaster embossing powder to get those to stand out a little bit. Hit it with my heat gun to melt it, and I noticed that it wasn't perfect, but I was totally okay with that because it is water and, you know, it varies. So I wasn't going for perfection with this. I just wanted to add a little bit more to the scene. Get that heated up. And I really like the effect of the ripples. Even if they're not perfect, I think it's a nice way to kind of reiterate that there's a top surface of the water and then there's a bottom surface, and that's kind of what I was going for here. Now that I have that all done, we're going to do the next portion of our element, as I wanted to create the word dad, and I just used the Charlie's alphabet dies, and I die cut it each of the letters 3 times, 2 out of white cardstock and 1 out of this nice navy cardstock. This is just some scraps from my stash. You could use anything that you want. I just wanted to use up some of my scraps, and I loved triple stacking my die cuts, especially with sentiments, because I think it adds the dimension you're looking for without having to use up too much foam tape. Once I had all of that completed, I wanted to add my secondary greeting, which comes with the stamp set that says, "Hope you have a really great day." A nice way to kind of show it's a fishing theme here, and I love this card. My husband thinks this card is great, and I'm going to see if he wants to give it to his dad, who loves to fish as well. So I really think this is great, and all of the family loves to fish, so this set was a must for me. I really love all of the images. They're just so sweet. And I love how you can adapt it for different occasions as well. You don't necessarily have to use it for Father's Day. You could use it for a birthday. You could use it for anything. So I just stamped down that greeting with some chipped sapphire distress oxide ink and used a banner die to cut it out. Now that we have all of our elements ready to go here, we can start assembling our scene. So I'm going to use some liquid glue and some 3M adhesive squares from Scrapbook, just to get my images my images attached. I didn't want to have the hook on this one. I wanted it to look like the bobber was floating on the top of the water. So I just trimmed off the hook, and I used my white gel pen to kind of erase the extra line there, so it looks like the bobber is just floating on the surface of the water. And I adhered the string and the bobber to my fisherman here. Now, whenever you cut this die out, it does cut out the bobber portion, but I didn't realize that until after I had everything colored. So I just did it separately, and it worked out just fine. I'm going to add these cat o' nine tails to my scene here. I end up moving this one in particular a little bit later because I wanted to have some room for my cat. I modeled this cat after my own cat. I love him so much. He recently disappeared for a few days and came back. He kind of has a little bit of a bum leg, but I think he'll be okay. He's a tough old guy, but I'm going to use some 3M foam squares to attach my fisherman here. I wanted to pop him up just a little bit. It doesn't add a whole lot of dimension. These are some nice thin 3M foam squares. Again, they're by Scrapbook Adhesives, and I really love the dimension that you get with these ones in particular. While I'm assembling my scene here, I just wanted to mention to you guys really quickly that I am not only creating cards for my channel in general, but I am in the process of creating cards for my next big series that comes out in about a month. We've got a little over a month. It's my Christmas in July series. I know some people aren't really thrilled about Christmas so much yet, but I really enjoy that series. It did so well last year that I decided to do it again this year, and I'm super thrilled that I did. I can't wait to share it with you guys. I've been working really hard on it, and I know you guys will enjoy it. So we've only got a month to go, but in the meantime, I will be sharing more cards like this, kind of generalized everyday cards. Now that I'm happy with the amount of adhesive that I have on the back of my fisherman here, I can get him attached down. I'm trying to line up where I put the kind of the ripples for the bobber. They were a little off, so I wasn't super concerned, but I just wanted to line it up a little bit and get him placed down. And then I can start adding in my other elements. I can add in my my duck here and my cat as well. There's my cat. I just think it's so sweet. And this is where I decided that I wanted to shift over that cat o' nine tails. Now I did tear my cardstock just a little bit. Thankfully, I didn't tear it enough that it ruined the top portion of this card. I was able to disguise quite a bit of that with the cat and the remaining, area of this cat o' nine tail. So it didn't hurt it too badly. So if you feel like you need to shift something, don't commit to it until you're 100% sure that's where you want it. So got it adhered down where I wanted it this time, and then that area where I kind of messed up a little bit, I just covered it up with that cat, and you'll be none the wiser. Get him attached on there. And then we're going to add the little dragonflies. And, the scene's really starting to come together. And I'm really pleased that I didn't do anything up top, as in like actual sky or clouds or anything. I really think these images kind of shine in a way that I think they might have gotten, I don't want to say lost, but they wouldn't have kind of been the main focus if I had done a whole lot of extra scene work. Just using, the scene at the bottom and the images on their own at the top, I really think it kind of transitions into a nice little scene. Get my mallard duck attached here, popped him up on some 3M foam squares, and I didn't want to add the fish in until I was 100% sure where I wanted to add my greetings, so that I didn't accidentally cover them up. So I was thinking at this point ahead of time before I committed to adding those fish. So I wanted to put the hope your day is really great down at the bottom and attach the dad greeting above that. And I love the way that this looks. I probably would have done maybe 1 or 2 more fish just to kind of really round out the scene, but again, it's funny the things you notice whenever you're going through and editing, things that you could have done or maybe would have done differently. It kind of helps you I don't like to say critique, but kind of see things in a different light, and then that way you can apply things to cards later on. We'll get our little fish attached here, and I was really pleased with this larger fish. I wanted it to kind of look like a rainbow trout. I had caught one a few years ago, and I was really proud of it, so I wanted to create that fish to look like a rainbow trout. Now that I have all of my elements on the card, I want to go in with some finishing details. I took my number 10 Jelly Roll pen and added some highlights here and there to the different images. Again, this is one of my favorite ways to add details and highlights to images, especially ones that are kind of more of a cartoonish nature. This is totally optional. You can leave this out. I wanted to add a little bit of white detail in the water to look like bubbles. Again, totally optional. You could leave the card as is, but again, this is all personal preference on how you like things to look. Once I was happy with all of the gel pen detail, I went in with a fine tip marker, and I wanted his shirt to be plaid. I've seen a couple of crafters do this before where they add in details after the fact, and I really love the way that it turned out. It was exactly what I was hoping for, and I think it really kind of makes the character here. And I added a little bit of detail to his hat and to his little shorts, or not shorts, his coveralls. He's not wearing shorts. And the last thing that I did was I went in with a, or not the last thing, the next couple of things I did, I went in with a glitter brush pen, or I guess it's a glitter pen, and added a little bit of shine to the fish and to the dragonfly's wings, and I added some highlight to the dad text just to kind of liven it up a little bit since it is down there in the water. Again, just to add some detail. And then finally, the last thing that I did do is I went in with some Nuvo drops in Morning Dew. These are a nice clear Nuvo drops. You could use glossy accents, but I have misplaced my glossy accents. I don't know where they went. So I decided to go in with these Nuvo drops to make it look like some more bubbles in the water. Again, just to add some more interest to the scene and some dimension. And I also used that same Nuvo drops on the bobber and onto the little wings of the dragonflies. And this finishes up this card. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button as well as a subscribe so you don't miss out on any more videos here at my YouTube channel. I had a lot of fun creating this split scene card featuring some amazing products from Hello Bluebird. I can't wait to share with you the next video. I'll see you guys again real soon. Bye!
On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.